Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another Falconry video. Today's video I'm really excited about. I've waited a long time to do this video because I wanted to do it right. Today's video is on the largest eagle, most powerful eagle, and arguably the most iconic eagle species in the world, and that is the Harpy Eagle. Now, if we're being really accurate, the Harp Eagle isn't an eagle. If you watch my videos, true eagles are members of the Aquila family line. I will put a link down to a video I did in the description covering all the true Aquila eagles. But if we're going to use the term eagle loosely, then the Harp Eagle is the most eagle of all eagles. This is epic. It is otherworldly. It's like something out of a video game or something out of some epic tale of fantasy. They're so large, they're so strange, they're so unique. So let's get into this animal. Before we do though, if you haven't already, if you could subscribe to my channel, very much appreciate it. It helps me keep this up and going. So the Harpy Eagle, it lives in Mexico, Central America, and South America, which is quite a broad range. Lives in a range of habitats within that range. It is among the heaviest of eagles, arguably the heaviest eagle. Now, the contenders for this statement of being the heaviest eagle are, of course, the Harp Eagle. The other is the Philippine Eagle, which we'll talk a little bit about in a minute, and the Steller's Sea Eagle. None of these are closely related, but these are generally considered to be the heaviest of eagles. Now, heaviest is tricky because when eagles are this big, they can eat pounds in a sitting. Pounds. If you're eating that much and cropping, part of it goes to the stomach and part of it's in your crop, and then who's weighing you? Some biologist in the field? Or what about maybe it's a bird in captivity, like a captive bred bird? It's being weighed and maybe it's overweight. It's tricky to know the exact weights on these birds, but generally the Harp Eagle, the Philippine Eagle, and the Steller's Sea Eagle are considered to be the three heaviest of eagles. But there's no contest. Structurally speaking, the Harpy Eagle is the largest eagle. Meaning, if you're looking at the skeleton, if you're looking at the skeletons of all these eagles, thousands of years from now, and you're like, well, oh yeah, Harp Eagle is by far structurally the biggest. That doesn't count for feathers, and we'll get to that in a bit. But weight-wise, this eagle often weighs 20 pounds. There is on record a female that was in captivity that weighed 27 pounds. That is an insane weight for a bird of prey. Now, I've flown golden eagles before. I've flown very large female golden eagles. My smallest male golden eagle flew at 6 pounds. And he accidentally caught coyotes on 3 different occasions. A 6-pound eagle. So imagine what a 27-pound eagle can do. Powerful. Now, the wingspan of this eagle is 7 feet 3 inches. Seems pretty big. It is. But you have to understand, these birds, for their size, have incredibly small wings, meaning the feathers themselves are comparatively short. Structurally, the wing bones, which are arms being repurposed as wings, they are huge, but they have wings that are built for a dense rainforest environment. So wings are short and broad. This would be very similar to a goshawk. You think about northern goshawks. Goshawks are built for a forest life. So a goshawk is a big bird, but for its size, it has an oversized, very long tail, and its wings are very short, broad, and rounded. So what this does, long wings are really good for soaring and gliding around, doing your thing. Short wings, you have to flap more to stay afloat, to stay aloft, but you can zip in and out and dodge branches. That's what goshawks do. It's the same thing. If you want to think of it in that way, you could think of a Harp Eagle as a big, scaled-up goshawk. With that being said, 7 feet 3 inches is still a very large wingspan. So you're having a bird with undersized wings, and it's still 7 feet 3 inches. It's incredible. These birds are huge. The Harpy Eagles were first classified in 1758. They were named and got that name Harpies after the Harpies of Greek lore and Greek mythology. If you're not familiar with Greek mythology, my first introduction to the concept of Harpies was the old classic movie from back in the day, Jason and the Argonauts. And Jason and the Argonauts featured some incredible stop-go animation by Ray Harryhausen. It had these harpies that came in and were harassing a man at the behest of Zeus the god. And I remember seeing these things flying out of the sky and attacking this blind man. And I remember thinking, wow, this is horrific and terrifying and exciting. And wow, these just monstrous things. Well, that's where the idea of harpies came from. People who were first learning of harpy eagles from the native peoples in the land were told accounts that they were said to hunt children. That harpy eagles would dive down and would catch children and would eat them, carry them away and eat them. And again, to the scientists who were hearing of this, that sounded very similar to of the Greek mythology of harpies carrying away people or attacking people from above. Now, we'll get into that in a bit on whether or not they really do attack people. We'll get into that in a bit. But what is a true harpy eagle? I grew up with books. The internet didn't exist. And going through books, common names change frequently as we get new information. And sometimes things are given different names. So the true harpy eagle, the actual harpy eagle, is the biggest. That is what we're talking about. But there's a couple other close cousins. So one is sometimes people call it the crested eagle. But I don't like that because there's other crested eagles and crested hawk eagles. So the Guyana crested eagle of Central America and North and South America is a very close cousin to a harp eagle. And it used to be called a Guyana harpy eagle. There was the harp eagle and there was a Guyana harpy eagle. And that's how it was viewed. Well, genetics have proven that they are very closely related. I will be doing a video soon on Guyana crested eagles. They're a very strange species because they have different color morphs, which you do not normally have in this family line. They have different, very strange color morphs. They're really cool. They're big, but they're not harp eagle big. So again, the Guyana crested eagle used to be called the Guyana harp eagle. Now it's just called the Guyana crested eagle or even the crested eagle. But again, crested eagle kind of gives people a little off course. So it's in the harpy family, but it's not a true harp eagle. Only a harpy is. Now there's also the New Guinea eagle. Now it's nowadays normally called the Papuan eagle. Lives in Papua New Guinea. And this was originally, because of its shape and its appearance, believed to be a harp eagle. And it used to be called the New Guinea harp eagle. So there was the harpy eagle, the Guyana harpy eagle, and the New Guinea harp eagle. These were all called harpies. Well, then they said, well, actually, the Papuan eagle that we have today, it's not related. Well, actually, genetics have proven that yes, they are related to the other two. So you have the real harpy eagle, then you have the Guyana crested eagle, very closely related, and then the Papuan eagle on the other side of the world is closely related, but it branched off earlier. But it is a very close cousin. So those are kind of the harpies, if you will. Then there's the Philippine eagle. The Philippine eagle is weird. It is unique. And again, this is another one of these birds that just seems prehistoric. It seems to be from a mythical fairy realm. Philippine eagles used to be considered to be related to harp eagles. Just because of the size, shape of the beak, and sometimes they used to be called, they're Philippine eagles is what they call them today. They used to call them Philippine monkey-eating eagles. They also used to call them Philippine harpy eagles, and they were just a type of harpy. But they're not. Genetics don't lie, and genetics have actually shown that they are related to the serpent eagles, which is really strange. They would have branched off way early on and started doing their own thing, but you can see it in the patterning, the shape, and the crest. You're like, okay, I can see how you went this way, but you took it a really cool, weird direction. So a Philippine eagle is not a harpy. It's almost as big as a harpy, but it's not a true harpy eagle. Real harpy eagles, they prefer dense tropical lowland rainforests, from around 3,000 feet above sea level to up to 6,500 feet. They have the largest feet, talons, and tarsi of any raptor by a long shot. The thickness, the density of the tarsi, and the size of the feet is otherworldly. A lot of times people will take pictures with a harp eagle, and they'll have the harpy in front, and they'll be 5-6 feet fat and take a picture. Harp eagles are huge, but these pictures make them look much bigger. But if you look at the actual foot in hand of a harp eagle, it's unreal. Why do they need to be that much oversized? When we're getting into their prey list, I'll talk about why I think it is. But normally most of their prey, things like monkeys and things like that, parrots, it's like you don't need to have feet this big to take out prey like that. I'll get into a minute on why I think this is. But there's nothing to compare them to. There's nothing anywhere near this size and this power and this grip strength and the size of these tarsi. They're just massive. Harp eagles normally hunt from a perch. They like to just sit in a perch and just look around and wait for things to come. But it has been documented that they will dash beneath canopies to flush prey. So if they've been looking for hours and they're not finding anything, that if here's the canopy line, the tree line, they'll just come in and dash through and dash through and dash through, hoping that them passing will spook something and then they can turn around and grab it. It's an effective way. I can't imagine living and hunting in a rainforest because on the one hand, hyper productive, there's food everywhere. But on the other hand, everything is so hidden. How do you ever find anything? Harp eagles do it well. Harp eagles, their largest food source is tree sloths, which is kind of strange. Most people don't think much about sloths. Sloths are a prehistoric throwback. We used to have giant ground sloths. And at the same time, we also had tree sloths. Giant ground sloths are gone, but the tree sloths remain. But they're a very prehistoric lineage. They come from the lineage called Xenartha, spelled with an X. And Xenartha contains all your sloths, all your armadillos, your extinct glyptodonts, which are kind of like an armadillo the size of a car, and all your true anteaters. Not an aardvark. Aardvarks eat ants, but they're a different family. So those are Xenartha. And that's mostly what they kill is sloths. Now, there was a nest monitored in Brazil from 2003 to 2005. And at this nest, there were 116 different prey species that were documented. Different species that the parents killed and brought back to the nest. Of those, 79% by the numbers were sloths. 79%. So 79% of everything brought back to the nest was sloths. That kind of blows me away because I've never seen a sloth in the wild. I assumed that they were not very prolific. They're slow. They don't breed very frequently. So the fact their numbers are that big that they could be hunted that prolifically is pretty wild. So they hunt mostly at that particular nest. Of those 79% killed that were sloths, they're mostly brown-throated sloths and Linnaeus two-toed sloths, which are two different sloth lineages. Monkeys form a large part of the diet, a very large portion. And at a nest monitored in Guyana, monkeys represented 37% of what was brought back to the nest. Now, I wanted to show pictures and list them all. Here's my list. So I'm going to put that up on here. These are the list of monkeys that are eaten. It is a long, broad list of monkey species that were documented at this nest site. And again, I have a hard time envisioning an environment that has monkeys at all. Just because I live in Utah, I live in North America. We get monkeys when you get down into Mexico and stuff, but we don't have them at all or anything like that. And there's some countries where, maybe like if you're in parts of Asia, macaques, you might have those just like kind of run around or something. Just certain animals that are, certain monkeys that are fairly accessible to humans, kind of like squirrels in North America. But the fact that there's that many species of monkeys all roaming around and all accessible for food, it's a wild environment. So monkeys are very important, is part of the diet. But harp eagles are the top of the food chain. And they'll hunt a wide range of other things. So among other things, they hunt nine-banded armadillos. They hunt kinkajous, which are a member of the cyanid family, so that's related to raccoons. They'll hunt crab-eating foxes. They will hunt peccaries, which are kind of like pigs. That's kind of a weird one too, because peccaries and javelinas, people are like, oh, they're not actually pigs, they're a different line. But they're still off of that same branch, so I still consider them pigs. They'll hunt white-tailed deer. Now, if you're in North America, that's the same kind of white-tailed deer we have in the eastern United States. People don't realize they go all the way down into South America and in the rainforests, and harp eagles hunt them. Can you imagine an eagle killing a deer in the forest? It's wild. They hunt squirrels. There's a lot of tropical squirrels, big old giant red squirrels. They hunt possums, which there is a wide range of possums in the rainforests of South America. They hunt a large number of rats. There's some really big, like cane rats and weird things like that. And domestic animals, they'll hunt goats and also sheep. That's doesn't bode well for them, because if they are doing that, then a lot of times the people raising those goats or sheep take it out on the harp eagle and illegally kill them. Now, in the bird and reptile range, harp eagles regularly hunt macaws. Now, I have raised a number of macaws. Macaws can darn near bite your finger off. They have these incredibly powerful beaks, and the jawline goes way far back. When you see where the beak is, the actual jaw goes clear to the back of the skull. And they can crack open nuts and just tear things apart. They bite so hard. So for a harpy eagle to catch one of these, they have to dispatch them quick, or else that could inflict serious damage. But they regularly hunt macaws. Seems like a strange thing to eat for dinner, but it's what they do. They hunt siriemas. Now, siriemas are predatory birds. They are the last living terror birds. We used to have terror birds going back even before the beginning of the Ice Age. Terror birds are these giant, usually flightless birds that would hunt from the ground. They'd run along and they'd kill things with their legs. Some of them were like 8 feet tall. And all the bigger ones died off, and they went down. Now we have 2 of them left. We have 2 types of siriemas left, and they can fly. The ones we have left still can fly. But they're predatory birds. They're hunters. They're pretty high up on the food chain. Harp eagles hunt them. They don't care. They hunt curassos, which are kind of a pheasant-like bird, kind of like a cross between a peacock and a pheasant. They hunt a wide range of snakes, and there are many snakes in the tropics. They will hunt full-sized iguanas. The iguana is a lizard, and they're herbivores, but they're big, and they can whip with their tail. They have a very powerful tail, and they can bite hard. I've been bitten by a full-size iguana that was getting it out of a thing and bit me. So they can bite hard. And they're very heavy and very dense, and they have deep, dense scales. That's tough to pierce through, but harp eagles hunt them. They will also hunt yellow-footed tortoises. So, again, if you're willing to go after a tortoise, that's pretty wild if you're going to eat and try to break through a tortoise shell. But harp eagles are that powerful, both with their feet and with their bite force. When it comes to nesting, it's kind of strange. Normally, top predators need a broad range. So if we're going down things like, if you're talking an American kestrel needs a range this big, and maybe a red-tailed hawk needs a range this big, and maybe a prairie falcon needs it this big, and maybe a golden eagle needs it this big. Usually the larger a predator is, the more range it needs. But we find that across the board, regardless of size, if there is enough food, birds of prey, raptors, will nest with incredible density. I remember looking for goshawk nests up in the high Uinta Mountains one year, and every half a mile there was a red-tailed hawk nest, because there was an explosion of Uinta ground squirrels. They were just everywhere. And so the red-tails were like, oh, we can nest right by each other. It doesn't matter. There's enough food to feed everybody. So you can have high density. In a hyper-productive environment, you can have this high density. That is what happens with harp eagles. It's been documented that active nests can sometimes be as close as 1.9 miles from each other. That's nothing. That's incredible. But again, it's all about the food source. The harder it is to find and acquire food, the more range you need to have and defend and protect. And the more food there is, the closer you can be. Now, usually harp eagles build their nest in a kapok tree, which is typically the tallest tree in South America. Makes sense, right? Biggest eagle in the world, tallest tree in the rainforest, kind of again, sort of like a fairy world. Like, ooh, yeah, the magical Harp Eagle living in the tallest tree in the rainforest. Of course it does. But hey, if it's, you got to have a good sight to be able to see, look for any other potential danger. No displays, like no mating displays or courtship displays have been observed. We presume they mate for life. Rainforests are so dense, normally it's doing good for biologists to even find the nests and to be able to monitor them, you know, maybe with a blind from across the way. But usually courtship has not been documented in any way, shape, or form. They lay 2 eggs, but they only raise 1. And the egg is, well, they raise 1 chick every 2 to 3 years. So you raise a chick, 2 to 3 years later, you raise another one. That's a big range of time in between. You might wonder, why is that? Well, I'll get to that in a second. The eggs are incubated for 56 days, which is almost 2 months. That's a long time to incubate. That's a very astronomically large incubation period for a raptor. When the chick hatches, it's flimsy and needs help from mom and dad to be fed. But when it's about 36 days old, so a little over a month, then it can stand awkwardly on its own. So again, this is a pretty slow growing species. It doesn't grow very fast. What you're building structure, you don't think about it, birds grow so quickly. You know, your mammals grow for years, they keep growing, and then they start growing fat. Birds, they grow fast. And not only are harp eagles big, but their bone density is massive, especially on their legs. And to grow that type of bone, that takes time. That takes a lot of time. So they fledge at about 6 months old. That's a long time. And the parents are committed even longer. So the parents continue after that. Babies fledge 6 months after hatching. They fledge half a year. The parents continue to feed that young for another 6 to 10 months. That's insane. So from hatching to baby going out on its own, that's an 18-month commitment. That's enormous. So it takes a lot to grow a baby harp eagle into an adult, into a hunting, self-sustaining adult. It takes a lot of work, a lot of growth, and a lot of effort to get to that point. But you got to think about that. It takes a lot of time to do that. That's why they don't have a chick very often. Because if it's going to take from hatching to 18 months, okay, yeah, but what are you doing? You are growing your future replacement. So a population must stay in balance. If you have more babies than can be sustained. So think about it. If you had tons of babies and there wasn't enough food, some of those babies are going to die of starvation. There's going to be competition that goes down, and then the prey numbers go back up, and then the predator numbers go back up too high, and then prey goes down and predator goes down. So this is the dancing game. So eventually it'll even out in a set environment to where you have balance. So if harp eagles are nesting more frequently, then the environment can be sustained, those babies are going to die. And so what it ends up balancing out to is if you have one chick every 2 to 3 years, and if you take 18 months to raise them, that balances out to where your parents are going to live a number of years and eventually they're going to die. And while they are living, you come into existence. There's crossover, and then eventually they die and you're in that territory. So there's crossover. So it's normally true. The larger the raptor, the longer time that takes. But I think that's incredible that it takes that long to raise their young. Birds grow feathers every year. Most birds grow a new set of feathers every year. It's called molting. And for smaller birds, let's take a red-tailed hawk, for example. Red-tailed hawks, they hatch, and within a few months, they are full size and on their own. And they have kind of some dull cream and brown colors. They go through 1 year of life, and at 1 year, their next summer, they grow a new set of feathers, and the new set of feathers are their adult colors, okay? So baby colors for 1 year, and then adult colors. And then the next year goes by, and they do the same thing, but they're going to get a new set of the same adult colors. And they'll keep doing that every year. Larger birds, like a bald eagle is a prime example, Bald eagles start off kind of blackish brown, and over 5 or 6 years, they have 5 or 6 different color morphs they go through until finally an adult, they have the white head, white neck, and white tail. Which, by the way, always bugs me. Everybody thinks that bald eagles have this huge white head because they poof everything out. They don't. They have a normal sized head for an eagle their size, but they poof it out and they have this white neck that everybody thinks is part of the head. It's not. The head of a bald eagle is like, it's like that. It's not that big from above. It's not huge. Anyways, I'm getting off course. That's what I do. So bigger birds take a longer time. It takes 5 or 6 years to get adult colors. Some of them, like I did a video recently on bachelor eagles. Bachelor eagles, it takes like 7 or 8 years, which is unheard of. And there is some birds that are in between that are kind of related to eagles, like black hawks. Black hawks take 3 years. They'll have their baby colors, and then they'll have some intermediate colors for their second year, and then their third year, they get adult colors. So you have birds like that too. But harp eagles, how do they start off? Harp eagles start off pale and white. They're kind of light gray to white for their first year of life. And it's going to take them years to get those adult colors. Now, there's many smaller eagles and hawk eagles that mimic this coloration. So, for example, the Isidore's eagle, its juvenile colors are the same as a harp eagle. The black hawk eagle, which ends up growing into these beautiful black colors, their young colors of their young offspring are that kind of same, that white and cream. The ornate hawk eagle, good heavens, that bird is an adult. It's got bright colors coming out everywhere. But as first year bird, it has those same pale white colors that look very much like a juvenile harp eagle. And of course, the Guyana crested eagle, which is closely related to the harp eagle, its first year colors, the same thing. It's got those pale colors. We don't know why that is, but the assumption that we infer is that these smaller harp eagles top of the food chain. Well, when you're young, it's kind of hard. You might get picked on. You have to do some battles over territory. And if you look like something bigger and more dangerous than you actually are as a species, maybe that gives you an edge. So in other words, maybe you're something like you're a black hawk eagle, but you're a first year bird, so you're pale and white, and a bird sees you like, oh no, that's a juvenile harp eagle. I'm not going to mess with them. Could be something entirely different. But that's kind of what most of us assume and sort of infer about it. So over several years, they get their adult colors, and it takes them a number of years to do it. And as their adult colors, they have this beautiful crest that will stick out in wild directions, and this beautiful barring on the tails and the wings. And these enormous legs. They're such a striking, beautiful, powerful bird. They are protected legally, I think, in every country that has them. I think they are legally protected, but they are still hunted and persecuted. People still do sadly kill them illegally, which is not good, and we should encourage people to do otherwise. Fortunately, there have been efforts to do ecotourism, to say, hey, let's preserve these lands, let's keep this forest intact, let's not hunt the harp eagles, and let's take bird watchers. They'll pay big money to come down and from a distance through their binoculars see harp eagles in the wild near their nest, and that has helped some. Habitat loss also still is one of the biggest threats to harp eagles and their ability to sustain themselves. So good to preserve the wild forest that we have. Harp eagles are incredible. I've never flown one. I've held them a few times up at the Peregrine Fund. I've had a chance to work with them a little bit, and incredibly powerful. There's nothing quite like it. They're so much heavier, and their legs are so much more powerful than any other eagle that it's very intimidating. Even for some, I've worked with a lot of eagles. I've worked with bald eagles and golden eagles and Libero-stellar sea eagles. There's nothing like a harpy. They are beyond powerful. I wish that we had more access to them in zoos and wildlife centers for people to be able to see and be inspired by them. Because again, when you're talking about conservation, we're in a digital age. People don't care about things they are not connected to. And if I say, hey, in some rainforest thousands of miles away, there's a bird that you should care about, and you should try to help preserve, who cares? So I hope this video will inspire some people who make decisions in the future to do some good with it, because harp eagles, we need our monsters. We need our legends.
it's sad that during the Ice Age, which we're still coming out of, it's a few thousand years ago, we had truly epic animals like woolly mammoths and giant ground sloths. America had camels like Titanotilopus, a camel that was as tall as a giraffe. We had American lions that were as heavy as 4 African lions. We had these giants, as well as what we have now. We had both. Now the giants are gone, and we're left with the big guys. But there's still a few giants left. Like I think the Philippine eagle that we talked about earlier, and the Harp Eagle are among those giants. The Bataleur eagle of Africa. These are kind of almost mythic animals of the past. The California condor. We still have turkey vultures. Turkey vultures are kind of doing the same job right now. But California condors are leftover giants from the past that are still here. And I want to live in a world with monsters. I want to live in a world with giants, with near mythical animals. Harp Eagle is one of them. And again, a Harp Eagle isn't even a true eagle genetically, but I think the Harp Eagle is the most eagle of all eagles. And always worthy to learning about them, to seeing them, and to doing everything we can to preserve and help them. So I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Harp Eagles, and I hope you'll go and do more research yourself. Unfortunately, if you go to research them online, you're going to find a lot of incorrect images. AI will just pick up random eagle images of different kinds, and it kind of messes things up. So be sure you're getting your information accurately. I am working on a mega video it's going to be several hours long, covering all the biggest eagles, true eagles, and eagles like Harp Eagles and stuff. I'm working on this right now, and it's going to take me several months still to get it done because I'm going to be pulling in from recording at all different times. But it's going to be an epic one. So then you can learn more about like the Guyana crested eagle and the Papuan eagle. By the way, if any of you watching this have any access to photos or information on Papuan eagles, they are so hard to get any good photos of, and that's one I'm working on, and I need some help if anybody can help with that. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you watched all the way to the end, type condor in the comments so I know you watched this to the end. If you can hit subscribe, very much helps me out. If you want to support me, I've got a link to my Patreon in the description. And I hope you keep coming back and enjoying these videos with me. And as always, happy hawking.